Merry Christmas, Internet. It's now the 27th, so it's not exactly Christmas, but Christmas is just behind us. Hope everybody had a good one. I got lots of goodies from my parents for working on the car, because they are very in tune with what I'm doing over here at the Mazda Sanctuary. I'm going to quickly go through some exciting things that are going to help us on our journey. This is a thing that you put over your finger, and it has a magnet in it. And then you can, let's see if I can demonstrate this while holding the camera. You can, like, hold bolts in terrible locations so that you can start threading them and stuff like that. That is just genius. It's rare that you're in a circumstance like that, but whenever you're in a circumstance like that, the redneck alternative to this is to scotch tape a nut to your finger. So this is super cool. Had no idea that such a thing existed. I guess I can just, like, yeah, that's a way better way to store it. We also got ourselves a cool new face shield. I will shield my face from flying debris. What else? Also got a really nice headlamp with an 18650 in it. That is nice and friggin' bright. So my YouTube audience will appreciate this one, I think. I don't know why I haven't gotten myself one of these yet. I really have no excuse, but thanks, Dad. Also got this cool little fan light thing that runs off an 18650 as well. And I'm always blasting rust off of crap here, and priority is not having it get into the rest of my house, because, you know, I live here and breathe the air inside here. So whenever I have the window fan there, having this there all the time that I can turn on to help blow the crap yaywards, that's awesome. Never would have thought to get myself something like this. So, with the gift haul out of the way, what are we working on today? We're working on assembling the front struts. We pretty much have everything ready to go to assemble the front struts and theoretically be able to put them back on the car. So, I'm going to include a little bit of footage right now of the process of cutting off the old perches for the stock struts and grinding that down and then welding these on. Alright, we're getting ready to weld these things up. And I didn't record removing the perch off of this one. So I'm going to record removing the perch off of this one. So what I found worked really well on the other one was cutting here, here, and here on the outside. And then going down here and not cutting, being careful not to cut all the way through the piece of metal, but doing zhrink. Just weakening it right there, and then since it's detached there, you can just hit it with a pair of pliers and rip it off pretty darn easily. Doesn't get much easier than that. Just gotta do that 2 more times. This type of wire wheel is my new personal favorite. It is also pretty dangerous, so I will not even turn the grinder on if I'm not wearing a face shield. But these offer a fuck you level of rust removal, pretty much immediately. Down immediately. Bingo. So now, well, after we weld that on, we can do a cheeky little one of those, and then after we do that, we can do a cheeky little one of those. Eh? Eh? Alright, so my plan is we're going to tack it in the upright position. So I'm going to have this on there to kind of tell this where to be. And we're going to use the weight of this plus gravity plus I'm going to put welding magnets below here so that it's in the right position. So what I'm going to do is, you can see it right there, there is a little mark after the top bit of this, and I'm going to use that for where it needs to stop, because it is basically exactly where it needs to go. So I'm going to grab the welder and do 1, 2, 3 little tack welds, and then we'll give it the sauce once we flip it upside down. Oh, I forgot to turn the helmet on. Definitely don't want to oval the tube here. Just enough to hold it. Up here is a lot of weight. I don't want this falling on my toe. For real. Instagram quality TIG welds? No. Gonna work? You betcha. And what I didn't record, because there's no point in recording it really, I blasted these quickly with a layer of rust primer. And I didn't even, this is just a bonus. I really just wanted to coat the area where I blasted all of the rust and paint off. Yeah, this is not beautiful. This is just 80-20, you know. 80%, the 20% will come later, if it ever needs to. So, we have new shock absorption cartridge units, and those need to go inside here, and before that happens, I need to pick a fluid to put inside here. There only needs to be like that much in the bottom of it for whenever this is getting hot, it needs to transfer to the rest of the doodad. So, I think I might just use, oil, bar and chain oil maybe. I have some of that handy. It just needs to conduct heat and not freeze, and oil does that. So, we'll put a little bit of oil down. Well, first we gotta clamp one of these in the vise, put some oil in there, put this in there, and then it's time for the exciting stuff, which is sliding this over and putting the spring on, and then assembling the stuff on the top of the strut. So let's assemble our Lego kit here. Right, that's a right nice KYB if I've ever seen one, mate. Holy shit. So this is, looks the same as the other one, except this one's not blue. So this actually says KYB right on it. Does the other one say KYB? Because I was wondering if it was perhaps not stock, because it's, you know, blue, not black. Where can I set this down or it won't get dirty? Back in the box. This has no form of brand on it. And it's painted blue. So, yeah. I think this was an aftermarket jobby. Performance, perhaps? It's screwed now. But, I don't know, maybe this was some sort of performance part. I definitely think that these were taken apart since being factory. It looks like there's some wrench marks on them. So this was not the first replacement cartridge this jockey's gonna get. I don't think. The line between it not feeling like enough and it being too much is a thin one. I was hoping to just have it be quick and not get bar and chain oil absolutely everywhere, but that is kind of a lost cause. Hopefully this is the last time I take this out of here. There, you can drip into this thing that I'm poured into it. I also don't have a way to torque this, So we're just gonna go a couple grunts worth. Click! Probably like this. I'm gonna keep those zip ties in there for now. The zip ties that are on that hold the top hat to the spring. Oh yeah, let's go. So the old shock absorbers wouldn't have done this. Thankfully the new ones do. Still a pretty light amount of shock action if we're going to be honest though. Maybe as time goes on I'll figure out that there are aftermarket ones of these cartridges. But we're going to run stock for now. I'm not quite tall enough to see this, but you can. This is a really annoying nut to have to tighten because this spins and they give you flat sides on the very top of the shaft. But how are you supposed to do anything with that? You can't get to it whenever you have a socket on it. So stage one of me trying is I'm going to put this in the vise, I think, the bump stop, and it's going to grab on the shaft with nothing but rubber. And it doesn't need to be that much. It just needs to overcome the nylock. So we're going to try that first. If that doesn't work, we're going to slide the bump stop down. And where the bump stop is going to be, in case we damage it, which we won't, we're going to put microfibers on it. And then we're going to clamp on it with some vise grips. And we're going to try that. That's how I got it off in the first place. But I didn't care about damaging it quite as much. But now I care a lot about damaging the shaft, because any damage to this shaft means leakage. There's 40. Okay, the lower bound for the torque spec is 45. So, 43? 45 foot-pounds, baby. Slap that on the car, ship her down the road. So on the other one, this top hat can't go down this far. It gets stopped right there. And that made it very convenient, because it got all wedged on there, made it very convenient for torquing it. See, it doesn't go down any further. But this one is totally different. It's just, is it this being drilled out to a different size? Is it this? I find that harder to believe. So this must just be a little bit bigger of a hole. That's stupid. Now I have to figure out a different way to torque this one versus the other side. God, I love it. Well, now that it's damaged, I guess we can just send it home. $45, let's go. There's like 50. That is not coming off when I'm flying down the road. Makes me sad though. Believe me when I say I really, really didn't want to have to do that. But this is a stupid thing. And sometimes stupid things require stupid solutions. The other one I managed to do it. Because again, I've said this 1,000 times. This isn't... The one on the other side, this didn't go this far. It got stopped on that nice little taper bit, which I feel like it's supposed to. So why doesn't this one do that? I don't fucking know. But anyway, this is together. I mean, this covers up
yeah, pretty much 100% of all of that damage, plus there's the entire bump stop. So we're fine. I'm just sad about it. For no reason. So this is stock ride height, fully extended, so it doesn't actually sit quite this high. But this is where we are now at as low as we can possibly go. Let's pull this down slowly. So, at the very lowest setting, that's my travel. At least it'll let me go stupid slammed nuts on the ground low if I want to, but chances are it's probably gonna live like, I don't know, somewhere in there. Things we will learn. But yeah, there's that one done. That one done. I think it's almost time to start scrabbling around on the ground outside. So I'm deciding that I'm going to put the zip ties back in now that everything is assembled. They're not actually interfering with anything because that washer is in there. What these are going to do is whenever the car hops and it goes up higher, then the spring will be sprung, if you know what I mean. Like, if I pull this all the way down and we lift off on one side for whatever reason, we're hitting a corner really hard. I don't want the spring to just do whatever the heck it wants, because it's going to be, you know, there's a lot of weight on this, and it's potentially going to get bound up on that, potentially going to mar the sides of this. So the zip ties are there to hopefully keep the spring in place whenever it's coming up. They do offer helper springs. Ground Control does. However, everything from there was really expensive, so I figured if I ever decide that I need those, I can get them from a Canadian supplier. But for right now, we're just gonna hold the spring to the top hat using zip ties, and that will, for the most part, should prevent it in that circumstance from getting away from us. Alright, bit of a moment of truth coming up here. Yep, assembly is going well. And right now we have this very precariously jacked up, and like just until the point where the spring has just seated. And I have this down all the way, almost. So this is just about as low as we can ever get it. I'm gonna go put the wheel on here without an inner fender or outer fender and just see what it looks like. And what I might do, against my better judgment because it's not painted yet, I might take, like once this is on here, I might take the fender and put it on here with just like 2 bolts maybe at the top to see where things are lining up. Because I'm very curious to know if I'm going to be hitting the bump stops often with the ride height that I'm aiming for. Man, it fills that wheel well out really well. I'm really pleased with how it looks. However, we are going to have to trim the bump stop. Because, see how much you can see what I see. In there. It is pretty much on the bump stop right there. So there's not too much travel that it needs to have whenever it's this close, but I don't want it to be hitting the bump stop that often. So we are going to go in and chop it. Still want to have a bump stop, but not one that is as big as the current one is. It is morning, or afternoon, so just cut this bump stop in half. So I have this piece and also this piece to try. I think I'm going to try shoving this in here with no spring and lifting it up and seeing where that lands the wheel. Alright, so I took the spring out and I cut the bump stop, put everything back together, and then jacked it back up with the wheel on. And I don't think we're going to have to modify the top hat. I think we can leave everything just as it is. That is currently touching the fender. It is interfering with it, because it is not rolled. So at full extension, like hitting a bump, that is pretty much exactly where I want it to be. So once I roll that, this will be a good place for the maximum travel to be. Man, that looks easy.
Continuation from the last episode, we got our seal in the mail. It looks about 8 million times better than what we took out of there. The metal part and the rubber part are together. And I'm quite convinced this is going to fix the leak. Installed. Very nice. Alright, it is now Thursday, and I've been working on this. Oh god, that's not ideal. That's not an ideal lighting situation. Alright, been working away on the car today, and also a little bit last night. We got the rear springs in there without cutting them at all. And we have I got a brand new jack for Christmas as well. This was kind of the big present. Low profile 3-ton Mastercraft floor jack, or Motomaster floor jack. I've never owned an actual proper floor jack until now, so this is pretty exciting. No more using a brick on top of my crappy trolley jack to actually get this thing up as far as it needs to go. Now it can just sit on the ground and do the whole thing in one big swing. This thing's awesome. So I just put the rear springs in there. I'm very happy to notice that I did not have to remove any of the Wattslink stuff to get the springs in there. The stock ones, I had to disassemble some of the Wattslink to get the old springs out of there. But these ones are shorter even when they're not being compressed. So right now, I actually have it not on the jack stands. It is being supported on the pumpkin. So we're kind of simulating it being on the ground back here. But in the front, it's not actually sitting on the tires. So this is not a perfect comparison, but it will give us a rough idea of how many coils we should chop off initially. So I bounced the car a little bit. Here is our ride height without removing any of those coils. So pretty monster truck-like. I have measured this gap to be about 64 millimeters. So I'm going to figure out how many dead coils that equates to, and then stay on the safe side, and you know, however many I think I need to cut off that many minus one. Alright, I did some rough calculations. We want to remove, so each one of these is 10.5 millimeters tall, and I want to remove 56 millimeters minus one coil's worth to be safe. So boopity boop math, that's, I want to remove 4.33 coils. So that means we're going to cut, here will be 1 coil, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll cut another third of one. And we will see where that lands us on the car. Hopefully it won't be too low. Doubt it will be. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a third. Well, that was a bad idea. Good news, we cut the coil. Bad news, I am really stupid. And the blade got jammed in there, and I grabbed it to try and pull it out. And I know that this is really hot, but I wasn't thinking that this is really hot. And it was hot enough to singe the fingertip of my index finger. and it's this is the second time that I've burned my fingertips badly enough that it, like, if you leave it on its own, it just slowly ramps up and more pain, unless you keep something cool on it all the time. So this might be it for today. I don't know if I can do much more work on the car if my fingertip is going to be screaming at me all day. Fucking idiot. Must persevere.
Alright, couple of custom units. Here's the bits that we chopped off. I'm glad I was able to chop the whole thing off at once rather than having to cut each one individually. I just kind of did it at an angle. So whenever we figure out where these are actually going to be, I'll clean this up a little bit. Maybe cut it right there. Get rid of the sharp bits, but for testing, the sharp bits are fine. Just throw it under there and see what happens. Alright, I just jacked it up and jumped on it a couple times to make sure that everything is kind of settled somewhat. And I think that is as good as we're going to get for right now. If I cut off any more, I'm worried that whenever we actually set it down on the ground for real, that it's going to, you know, things are going to shift and the weight's going to do different stuff. And I don't want to accidentally cut off too many. So that is a non-embarrassing ride height, but it's certainly not hella flush. It is not super slammed, but I'm good with that to start with. So we're going to leave it like that for now, and that's another thing off our list. So with that, I think I am going to call this video. Thank you everybody for following along. We're starting to get into the exciting stuff. Next episode will probably be more floor repair, because once the floor is finally done, then we can actually set this thing back down on the ground and it can be like a real car that drives on the road and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching.